My name is Lebogang Ramafoko, and I am the Chief Executive of the Tekano Atlantic Fellows. So as the incoming CE, I had not met the entire Tekano family, which comprises of the fellows, both cohort 1 and the current fellows who are cohort 2, the organizations they come from, which we call sending organizations, and the mentors that they have worked with who have really supported and carried them. And it was very important for me to be in a room with all of these key players. As a young organization, there's a lot of lessons that Tekano has learned. And for me, rather than start with a new slate as the new CE, it was important to hear and listen. And hear from everybody that has been part of Tekano what worked, what has been achieved, but what can be improved. So the 2 days was essential in a sense that we were co-creating and reimagining what this fellowship is about. Asking ourselves questions that may have been in each other's minds, but we have really not sat down and said, okay, you say you want to build a catalytic community. What is catalytic? And how will you know that you are successful? You say you want your fellows to have influence and to train them as leaders. What do you mean by that? What does success look like? But you've also run a fellowship for 2 years. What are the lessons that you're taking? And just sitting and listening and seeing the commitment that everybody who's a stakeholder for Tekano, including the board, has for the organization. Understanding where we are at as a country, because we don't really run this fellowship for ourselves. We run this fellowship in order to create a more equitable and just and healthy South Africa. It was great to see different leaders from different parts of South Africa, but also impacting on different social determinants of health, really sitting down and really applying their minds to the change that they want to make. I think for me, it will take a few weeks to almost just digest. It was so rich that it will take about a few weeks to digest what all of this is, what it means, and how we respond. We build on the things that have worked, but we improve on the things that we probably missed as an organization. You know, one of the strong points I have is that of creativity. And what I liked about the Lekgotla is that it was giving me gems or nuggets of how we can create. And I'm always excited by that, because when people can imagine something that does not exist yet, but they can call it into existence, it's something that basically appeals to me. I also bring vast networks. For an example, when you speak about Tekano wants to have an impact in the world, I've created a lot of television offerings. I've interacted with the media quite a lot. So how do we bring those skills within Tekano so that we really become the voice and the hub that we say in our founding documents? I also have a passion for young people, and what is also great is the fact that Tekano has a lot of young emerging leaders, you know. So how do I also play a role not only to lead the organization, but to also mentor these fellows, you know, myself, you know, how do I play a role outside of just running the organization? I've also played a lot of work in carrying forward the mandate of the organizations that I have worked with and the work that I have done. So how do I also become an advocate of the work that Tekano does, you know? So it's also being out there and positioning Tekano and the issues that Tekano is dealing with, and making sure that we are not only inward looking about the work that we do, but we are also outside looking in influencing the country. And those are some of the things that I bring at Tekano. I'm also very strong in strategy. So I think one of the things that I have been listening to in the conversations in the Lekgotla is what strategic choices do some of the questions we have leave us, you know, because we've got to make some strategic choices about the direction that we are taking, building on what we have learned, but also on some of the good that we have It's the strategic choices, and driving strategy is something that really appeals to me. Firstly, I don't believe that young leaders are future leaders. Young leaders are leading at the moment. And why I like working with younger people or in intergenerational groups is that younger people are able to call out things that position and prestige and age sometimes does not allow us to call out. The best example I can make, for an example, was the 4 young people who at the IEC stood and reminded us of Fezeka, who was known as Kwezi. They held no power. They were unknown young people, but they were young and they led us in a silent protest. It had been 10 years since the court case, the famous Zuma trial. He had become president. He was president, even going to announce the results. And an issue as topical, as serious as rape, violence against women, femicide, where really so many women had died, but we had not seen the kind of attention that we see now. And I knew one at that time. I knew one of the 4 young people. And I remember receiving an SMS and a message from somebody says, "Is that not one of your young people?" I wasn't even, the TV was on, but I wasn't concentrating. And I looked. And then on, as a feminist, as an older woman, I knew that the future was in good hands. Because where I had become jaded, the comforts of having a salary, the comforts of having a position where you don't want to put your organization into disrepute, would not have made me take a placard and go in and stand in front of the president, because how dare I compromise the funding that our organization gets. And therefore, that's where you recognize how intergenerational work works, that there were 4 young people. And immediately that happened, and thereafter, I made it my duty to reach out to those 3 of the 4 young people and supported them and brought them into my work, because I recognized that there is a fire in that belly that perhaps has died in my own belly or in the belly of the organization that I worked with. And in different ways, 3 of the 4 of them have worked alongside me, and they've come with crazy ideas. They've come with daring ideas. They've come with knowledge of technology and what the things that you can do. And therefore, for me, that's exactly that. Tekano must bring and create an enabling environment where some leaders, like what they were saying in Lekgotla, are working in deep rural areas where probably some of the work that I have done in the past have not reached. There is so much to benefit and learn by creating an enabling environment for that young leader to then bring the voices of those people to the fore. But even as they were talking, I was thinking, oh my goodness, where do we visit? Couldn't the senior fellowship also be about visiting these different projects that people are doing? Because we have many South Africans in South Africa. We have even when you see a brochure of Cape Town, where our offices are based, you see the mountain, you see the stadium, you see Camps Bay, you see Hout Bay. You don't see Imizamo Wetu, you don't see Philippi, you don't see the streets of Khayelitsha. So how do we create a much more inclusive society? And you create a much more inclusive society when you build and you really enable the leadership of different parts of South Africa to emerge. Because we are not able to address the challenges faced by South Africa if we use the same method that we used before, if we speak to the same people, if we speak in the same languages, if we have the same people around the table. So how do we create an enabling environment at Tekano where these young people, these fellows, these different generations help us to shape a new South Africa? Because a new South Africa is needed. My vision for Tekano in the next 6 months is that it is really an environment that truly feels like home for all the fellows. In the next 3 years, it's really an organization that is a voice and a formidable force in reshaping all the narratives about health and health equity in South Africa. It is a real privilege to be appointed as the head of Tekano. It is an honor to come into the space at this time in our country where we still are one of the most unequal countries in South Africa, where children are stunted because of malnutrition, where there is a big wage gap, where femicide, gender-based violence, intolerance to different sexual orientations are happening. And to then step into a platform that says, dream with other dreamers, dream of a different South Africa. It's a great invitation for me. I don't paint with brushes, but I really like what painting does, because I feel that with Tekano, it looks like South Africa is a canvas and we can paint the kind of picture that we want to be in South Africa. And to be part of that in my career as a social justice activist for a start, but a development practitioner, is quite a privilege, and I'm really honored to be here.